We're back live on In Focus. Police Minister Bheki Cele will tomorrow preside over the signing of a peace agreement between warring taxi associations in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, over the past month, several shootings and killings have been recorded in the province. Santaco KZN spokesperson Sifiso Shangase joins us now for more. Shangase, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. The immediate question that many people would want to ask before we get to the peace agreement, where the dispute resolution processes are properly exhausted, and what is the kind of process that was undertaken in order to get to this peace agreement?
Greetings to you, Baba Mdluli, as well as the viewers at home. As the minibus taxi in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, yes, indeed, we have a process that we follow when we have disputes. And the process itself requires that the parties which have got conflict, there is a need for us then to actually meet with each party so that we get the challenge that is actually causing the conflict within and amongst those parties. And eventually, once we've been able then to identify that, we'll then have to sit down as the mediators or those individuals that have been tasked to deal with that particular issue, to be able then to come up with solutions. And those solutions then will be tabled to the warring factions or the parties that are fighting. And then eventually, if there is an agreement, depending on what could be the cause and the source of the conflict. Yeah. But yes, indeed, we have a process that we follow, and it involves parties that are basically in conflict, so that eventually they then buy into the outcome of the agreement. And eventually, we will probably hold them to account if another party is intending to transgress.
It's an interesting dynamic that you're bringing here, and I know it's probably very difficult to really pinpoint and get to it at this particular point, but in your own assessment as Santaco, what is the source of the conflict?
Well, I wouldn't want to basically zoom into this particular one, but I will probably be able then to touch on some of the sources that we've been able then to identify as the leadership. Problem we normally find is the challenge when it comes to intra, which is within an association itself. You will find that members within an association over forces within the association itself, or the affections within the association when it comes to the issues of elections and the preferences of leadership. And there's also the one that we call inter-conflict, whereby two associations are fighting over a specific route, and that is called inter-conflict in terms of our terminology. And there's also another one, which is a criminal syndicate, whereby the minibus taxi industry gets infiltrated by individuals who are criminals, and basically these individuals are not screened when they come into the association. And when the person has been into the association, that's when you realize that his track record is not good. He's not in good standing in the society because of criminal activities that the individual has been doing. And once he is now a member of the association, he would want to continue with such activities. And that is also another challenge that the minibus taxi is facing.
Yeah. And in those three scenarios that you have painted, do you have confidence in, for example, administrative regulatory sanctions on the part of government coming into the space to bring about any form of concrete solution to the challenges?
Well, in a country which is constitutional democracy and constitution is the supremacy and nobody is above law, we do have confidence that when government is intending then to come about on board to deal with these issues, they will be able then to resolve the majority of them, because it's merely a commitment from the side of government, and then the culprits or the individuals who are the sources of these conflicts which create instability within the industry would then be able then to catch the culprits, and then they should face the mighty of the law. And then once government has got that appetite, we strongly feel that we will be able then to deal with these incidents of conflict within minibus taxis.
Yeah. And what does it take, in your experience in the various sectors, in fact in the various provinces where we've seen taxi violence. What does it take for the associations to stick to a peace agreement or to a ceasefire arrangement?
The first point of departure is we are always propagating and we are always promoting as the leadership that we need to have a negotiated settlement in all our differences, because we strongly feel that if people are fighting, we will never resolve the differences that people are having. But we always say, even the country itself, during the apartheid era, it was brought back to democracy through negotiations. And in all forms, you will never win a war, because people are going to be having casualties from both parties. But the best bet is to sit around the table. We have a negotiated settlement which will bring along a long solution to all the parties that will probably be affected. Hence, we are always promoting that if ever there are differences amongst our members or constituency, we are always promoting that they should sit around the table so that we seek and we resolve on a challenge, and then we have a long-term amicable solution which will be progressive to the industry. Because as an industry, we are running a business. We are not in a war zone. And if there are challenges, business people go to a boardroom and then they discuss their challenges. And eventually, when you are going to negotiations, then you can't win everything. We are also promoting that. You must give and take whilst you are discussing. And eventually, if you get persuaded, then you need to sign the peace pact.
Yeah. Now, Shangase, before we let you go, maybe as a final question, what happens in an instance where it looks like the conflict is even across provinces and not just confined to one area?
Because we have one Santaco in South Africa, we are able then to have discussions with our counterparts in another province, which gets also involved in such an incident. And in those instances, we go with our PRE, which is our provincial regulatory entity, and we meet with our counterparts from these other provinces, and we also look at the root cause of the challenge. And then once we are all able to look into that, we then call a meeting of the affected parties separately so that we get their versions of these stories, and eventually we'll call both of them with solutions which will be tabled. Some of these solutions could be proposals to them, and they themselves are also given an opportunity then to put counter proposals on the table. And eventually, because now they're going to be signing, it's a clear indication that both parties are happy with the content of the peace accord. So that will also enable us to revert back if somebody is now trying to renegade on the agreement that they've already signed. It is going to be assisting us in that fashion. And we are promoting that as well, and we are saying to other associations which have got challenges, they should follow suit, and this is the way to go about. There's no other way if you're in business that you're always going to be utilizing force to actually put your views across by forcing it. But the only best bet for us to be able then to understand you and comprehend your point of view, it's basically to be on a negotiated settlement, and then that is how you will persuade us and we'll agree with you.
Shangase, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on with us this evening. That's Sifiso Shangase. He speaks on behalf of Santaco in KwaZulu-Natal.